Welcome into the Nashville Game Changers podcast. I'm your host, Jill Jelnick. Well, it's no secret that the Music City has quickly grown into a racing city over the past decade, and it's hard to find another driver that's had a bigger impact than Hendersonville native and IndyCar driver Josef Newgarden. Really excited to have the number 2 of Team Penske as our guest this week. Josef, thank you so much for hopping on the show.
It's great to be here. You know, I'm 10 minutes from here, so this is like the fun media day for me. I don't have to go somewhere else. Got it wrapped up in a bow right in my home city.
Yeah, if I need to, go on a vacation, can you just host this show for me? Is that cool? Yeah?
Yeah, I'll pop in. No problem. Yeah, I can do this.
When we first started Nashville Game Changers about 6 months ago, I quickly wrote down a list of all the Nashville athletes, coaches, front office figures, just game changers that I wanted to have. And I kid you not, one of the first names I wrote down, Josef Newgarden.
Oh, wow. That's very kind of you.
No, right away. I mean, because you can't talk about racing in this city without your name coming up. And forget the fact that we have, Josef Newgarden Day, July 31st. Not a lot of athletes can say they have their own day, but you've just had such an impact on this city.
Isn't that nuts? The city's been very good to me. I've been a very fortunate person. I've had a lot of great opportunities in my life, a lot of good fortune. I've worked with a ton of great people, which is always my message. People ask me about, all right, so, after having a long career, what's the best part about it? I think it's learning how really life in any industry works, not even just, it's not specific to just racing, but you learn about, how a bunch of individuals come together to accomplish, different tasks. And you do that at a very high level in motorsport. So I say that because I've been really fortunate to work with a lot of people that have helped me put myself in this position, win a lot of races. And then, we've had a lot of fun figuring out these puzzles all the time. That's what racing is. You're always solving a puzzle. So incredible career, so much fun and love being from Nashville. Yeah,
I want to get into obviously this season and your previous seasons, including your, Indy 500 success, 2-time NTT INDYCAR Series champion run, so many remarkable races for you throughout your career. But first, I do want to talk about the big one that's coming up right here in Nashville, the Borchetta Bourbon Music City Grand Prix. Safe to say that one's close to your heart?
Yeah, it's high on my list. Certainly. So when I was a kid, I used to go to the super speedway and watch IndyCars race. I was there all the time when I was 12, 13 years old, watching IndyCars and just dreaming and wondering, mostly wondering how humans were driving those things. That's what was captivating to me about IndyCar racing. It was always just, it was always mind blowing to me, like how drivers were on a track actually controlling them. And so to have had the opportunity to race them and know what it's like to do 200 plus miles per hour in these cars, and then to go there myself and run that race, it's been next level cool. So it's very close to my heart. The Indianapolis 500 is the big race that I've always wanted to win, but right behind that is the Music City Grand Prix. Winning in my hometown would be very special. So we were close last year. I felt like we were in position to do it, but we ended up third. So this year we've got to try and put our foot forward again and be in a good spot and hopefully close the deal this time.
Well, and it's also a race, the Music City Grand Prix, that has evolved so much in such a short time, right? It was downtown for a couple of years, which I would love to ask you, what now that you've had the Music City Grand Prix on the oval track and the street course, which one do you prefer? What was that street course like?
I like them either way.
Yeah.
Both are very IndyCar. Let me tell you that. When you watch IndyCar, you watch a season in IndyCar racing, we're in so many different environments that, whether you're racing in the city streets of any sort of place, or you're on a permanent road course, or you're on an oval like the super speedway, it's all IndyCar. And you have to be good at all of those disciplines if you want to win in our championship. So it really doesn't matter to me. As long as we are racing in Nashville or the vicinity of Nashville, I'm going to be a happy customer. I think this is a great ending for us in our championship. It's our final stop for the calendar year. People love coming to Nashville. They just want more excuses to be here. I get to enjoy it year round. It's sort of my comfort spot, but having IndyCar here, I think is a great wrap up. So I say that because, whether we're going to race at the Super Speedway, we're going to race downtown in the future, it doesn't matter to me as long as we're racing in Nashville. Both were great. And the Super Speedway, kind of comes back to that connection point. I loved going out there as a kid and watching it, and I've always wanted to run that track. So I really enjoyed the first opportunity last year. I love oval racing. I didn't grow up racing ovals, funny enough. Like I raced go-karts and really didn't get my first taste of what racing on an oval was like until I got to IndyCar, and then I quickly fell in love with it. It's just one of these things that you don't realize everything that goes into it until you do it, and then you grow a great appreciation for the difficulty in making a car work around those types of environments. Yeah,
can you point your finger to what exactly about the oval you love the most?
Well, first off, it's more difficult than it looks. I think most people watch an oval race and they think that's just very simple. They're just turning left. Like that's the joke, I guess, that people want to come up with. Super high speed, right? And what you don't appreciate watching it on TV, and sometimes in person, it's definitely more impressive in person, much more than on TV. But you're kind of constantly on the edge of what the car is capable of. So you're not just turning left and you're just, you're like driving to the grocery store. Most of the time you're almost above the limit of what the car can do. So, and what I mean by that is the car is always feeling like it's wanting to crash, where the rear end's either trying to slide out or the front end's trying to slide out. And, the last thing you want to do is hit a wall at 200 miles per hour. So you're just dancing on this, this balance beam in a lot of ways. And you're trying to, make the car go faster and faster while just on this little delicate balance beam. And it's very, very hard to do, to find those little gains and incremental steps forward. So that's what I love about it. It takes extreme precision, and everything's got to be firing perfectly. I mean, you talk about like a team that's, working in sync, to find a team on a racetrack like an oval and to get the car just working perfectly. It's much tougher than it looks. So that's what I've gained to appreciate over my time.
Does it drive you crazy when fans or non-fans just go, oh yeah, racing, it's just turn left?
I mean, yes and no. It's like, I think people think Mario Kart too. They're like, oh, is it, are you good at Mario Kart? But, there's so much more appreciation that is coming into racing nowadays. I find more fans are really savvy to what it takes to, go into a racing environment to like excel at a very high level. The best thing you can do is either try and go to, a high-end karting track that has really fast go-karts that'll right away show you the difficulty in most racing environments, even though it's at a lower level. Or if you ever are lucky enough to get the fastest seat in sports, which is what we have in IndyCar, you can ride in an IndyCar two-seater. That gives you a lot of perspective that most people don't get. And just even going around, you'd go around Nashville Super Speedway about probably 180 in the two-seater, and it would blow your mind. You'd be like, wow, I had no idea that you'd be pulling these many forces through the corners, and you'd have to be like controlling this thing in this environment. I mean, it's hard to do, much harder than it looks.
Yeah. You mentioned the third place finish last year. What's the biggest takeaway that you can draw from that race, if anything at all, ahead of this season finale?
Well, it's just, going at the right time. And what I mean by that is, your strategy can evolve so quickly in a race. You go into a race and you think, okay, it's going to be this many stops. And, basically I'm going to try and position myself here at this point, and I'm going to save fuel at this point. And you're trying to like connect all these dots throughout the entire distance. If it's whatever it is, it's going to be a 200 lap race. Here's what we're doing. But it changes all the time, depending on when yellows fall. You may pit at a different time and get fuel at a different point than you imagined. And that changes the whole strategy. And I think for us, we didn't nail the ending part of that race. It's always a team effort. We're always trying to do this together. We just didn't make the right calls at the end of the race. And we were trying to save fuel when we should have just been going forward and pushing flat out. And there's no easy way to put it. We basically threw the race away. I mean, I hate saying that, but we had a super fast car. It was pretty easy for us to get through traffic, and we just needed to go when the time was to go. So if we come with the same fast car that can do what I could do last year, I think just making the right decisions at the right point will put us in a good spot. That never guarantees a victory. IndyCar races are hard to win. I don't care how fast you are or how good your team is. They're hard to get right. And last year we didn't get it right, but we're going to try and rectify it this year.
You used the word perfect earlier. You have to have a perfect car, nearly perfect race, and all other elements come together for that one win to happen. It's happened several times for you. Do you know in the moment when things are clicking, or is it still you're in it to the very, very end. You have no idea.
Yeah, you can feel when it's working. I mean, but that's the tough thing. You'll be in an IndyCar race and everything's working great and you're doing the right things, and then boom, out of nowhere, something completely derails you. It happens a lot, and that's the cruel thing about the sport. There's so many variables involved in it that, I could have a perfect day, but that doesn't, and my team could have a perfect day, but it can also go both ways around, right? Say the team's having a perfect day, but I make a mistake. Or vice versa. Maybe I'm having a perfect day, but we can make a mistake on a pit stop, or we make a mistake on a strategy call. Or maybe we're both having perfect days and someone just runs into us. Or maybe there's a part failure that's completely out of our control. It's just like a batch issue that came from a supplier. Like, all of this stuff happens all the time. And it's a tough sport because, like, you got to put everything into every round, and you still sometimes get denied. Yeah. And the only thing you can do is try and put yourself in the best position each weekend, and control what you can control. That's really all you can do. We show up with a good attitude. We try and assess each race for what it is. We try and build the right car for that race, and we try and run the best race that we possibly can. And then, the rest takes care of itself. But, you get knocked down more than you're standing up on top of the mountain, and you just got to keep going.
You're listening to the Nashville Game Changers podcast with Josef Newgarden. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this. I've always loved to ask IndyCar drivers and also NASCAR drivers, so, drivers in general, how much this city has evolved in terms of a racing city, especially with IndyCar. And I've always wanted to ask you this question because I can't think of anyone better that has a huge perspective in terms of being a little kid growing up here, right? Watching the super speedway races there and now driving on it. How have you seen this city become more of a racing city over the years?
Well, I think it's happened in a lot of parts of the United States, certainly probably globally too. But just speaking, in the U.S. specifically, racing has really, I think, taken a big momentum booster recently. It started. I mean, if you want to pinpoint one thing, when the COVID conditions were around, Drive to Survive became very popular. There was a lot of interest around Formula One. And I think that's been a catalyst for everything. It's kind of good for all forms of motorsport, whether you're a NASCAR fan or you're an IndyCar fan or you're a sports car fan. More times than not, when I meet race fans in Nashville, they're just race fans. They like watching everything. And so that's great to see that more people are just involved and interested in motorsports, especially young kids. I show up to the track now, and I see more young kids dragging their parents to the track than the other way around. And 15 years ago, that's not how it was. It was parents that wanted to get their kids into racing, and they were hoping that we bring them to the track and we get them involved and they're going to like it. And it's the other way now. I see kids that are like, look, I watch this and I love this. The parents know nothing about it and they're bringing them to the racetrack. I'm like, that's really, really interesting to watch. The cool thing about racing too, that more people are gaining appreciation for nowadays is that, it's not just about the driver. I think, probably 40, 50 years ago, it was you watch racing, you wanted to see these gladiators control these vehicles and do great things. But there's a lot more respect and appreciation for what racing is. And it is a combination of teams that are competing, trying to excel at the very highest level. It's like it's like a NASA team trying to send a rocket to the moon. I mean, it literally takes so many different types of people with all these different skill sets, combining together and getting the most out of each other to excel and win a race on a day. And so it's fun because, if you like motorsport, you can get into it in so many different ways. You can be an engineer, you can be a mechanic, you can be in the media side nowadays, which has obviously, changed the landscape. You can almost do anything now in media. So there's just a lot of positions that are involved in motorsport. And I think it's created all these new avenues and all these new interest in what the sport actually is. And
a lot more exposure. We see you guys, we see these drivers and hear their stories. I attribute that to rise of social media, rise of digital media. Having a more personalized connection, having heard a story through, a TV piece, a feature story, or even just a TikTok video. Like, I know it sounds crazy, but there's a new generation of sports fans. And you mentioned how you have so many little kids coming up to you and being your fans at such a young age, where that necessarily may not have been the case a couple decades ago. And it's great for sports. I think in Nashville, we're a big media city. We're, flashy music city. We have so many big label groups and artists, former athletes, love to settle down here. The buzz and hype and ability to promote the sport, I think has really coincided with Nashville's growth just as a popular city in general.
Yeah, and the good knock-on effect of that is that you don't have to really go anywhere nowadays. Nashville sort of supports whatever you need to do. You don't need to travel to LA or to New York City or even, let's say, Atlanta. If there's something you want to do in film production or certainly the music industry, which has always been the case, but even more so now, or it's like, you want to be a restaurateur or like understand how to get into the restaurant industry. Like, there's so many great tangible outlets now in Nashville. You don't have to go anywhere else. And so that growth, it's created some other things. There's more traffic here now, but you can access so much of so many industries, and it's really become a centralized point for a lot of people. And I think that's also included in sport. It is a sports town in a lot of ways. I mean, if we can get another sports team here, if we get an MLB team here.
Oh, I would love that.
Could you imagine, right? It'd be very, very well supported like everything else.
Are you a baseball fan?
A little bit. I played baseball for many years, like 12 years. I was like a Yankees guy, though.
Oh, gosh.
Most people are Braves fans from Nashville.
Yeah,
I was a little bit of a Braves fan. I like Chipper Jones, but I was a Yankees guy like through and through. So,
well, if we get a MLB team, I'm sure you'll quickly become their fan. Yeah, we'll
see. Yeah. It's hard for me to let go of the Yankees deal. Like,
okay, you still follow them.
Oh, yeah. Man, I'm just forever.
Okay. Well, maybe we can get a team here and we'll split your fandom. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Stay with us. You're listening to the Nashville Game Changers podcast with IndyCar driver Josef Newgarden. We'll be right back after this. Josef, this is your 14th season as a driver, 9th with Penske.
Sounds right.
Yeah, sounds right. You've had 31 wins, which is the most out of any active American driver. You mentioned your love for the Indy 500, won that twice, also two-time NTT INDYCAR Series champion. When you look back at this 14-year journey, does it still kind of blow your mind that you were once just a kid from Hendersonville with big dreams, and look how far you've come now?
Yeah, it's been crazy. I've been, I was telling you earlier in the podcast, I've been so lucky to have the opportunities I've had. Never expected to be a professional race car driver one day. So, pretty cool to see where it's gone. I've worked with a lot of great people. So, I want more. I'm still interested in finding that next gear or that next, advantage point. It's hard nowadays, though. Everyone's so close and competitive. It's hard to hide nowadays, too. Like, as in any sport, it's become so close and so specialized because, everyone can dissect every little piece of information. So if I do something that's like an intrinsic advantage to me, it's pretty hard to conceal that nowadays. And vice versa. I can see basically what all of my competitors do. Every little input they make to the car, most decisions they're making, you can analyze everything. So the sport's only become more difficult. I think that's true for every sport nowadays. So it's harder to find those advantages, but I'm still looking every day and every year. I look forward to how can we be a little bit better.
Yeah. What would be the biggest key to finishing the season strong for you and your team?
Just winning a race.
Yeah.
Winning a race. That's probably all I could say. Even if we just honestly. I probably the best thing for us would just be to put our best foot forward. And what I mean by that is, if we show up and we do everything in our control to the best of our ability, that's successful. I can't control, and us as a team, we can't control outside factors. If the weekend doesn't go our way, then, so be it. But if we did our job properly, then look, that's what we can be satisfied with. But at the end of the day, I think a win is probably the only thing that we're going to like as a group. That's what we're used to doing. It's what we got to get back to doing. And, so if we if we do just a decent job and we finish fifth, but we left a little on the table, that's not going to be very satisfying, even though it's a top five. We're out there to win a race.
Yeah. You're in Nashville a little early, doing a ton of stuff in the community, which you have always done. Since I knew you well before I came to Nashville, I had heard about just how much of an impact you've had on this Nashville community, Hendersonville, schools. You were just recently at a elementary school reading your book. It's called Joseph's Big Dream.
Yeah, we got two. Joseph's Big Dream, which is more about my journey trying to win the Indianapolis 500. So it's a little more aspirational. And then we got Goodnight Racetrack, which is that's easier to take in. We're just saying goodnight to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in a fun way. So those have been great connection points. I love going to schools, seeing the kids. They're so, kids are fun. They're just so unfiltered. And you teach them something they don't know, especially about motorsports. And they're interested, they're confused, they're concerned on some things. They learn about the milk tradition at the Indy 500. It's just fun to get their perspective. So the books have been a good segue for that.
What about your son, Coda?
Yeah.
Does he have a favorite of those two books of yours?
He likes both. I mean, he thinks Joseph's Big Dream is him, which is awesome. Okay. It does look like him. But he likes Goodnight Racetrack too. So yeah, we're very big Pete the Cat family. Yeah. Like we have probably 30 Pete the Cat books. And I mean, he just loves to read. So I think that's my favorite part about him right now is just his eagerness to learn. And, but yeah, we read books every night.
Yeah. You also do a ton with the Speedway Children's Hospital, a lot of events with them as well. Anything you guys have, I know you're trying to finish up the season, but anything you have on the horizon? Yeah.
So we've got a big deal for us. We just started our foundation. So,
your foundation.
Yeah, we're doing it in conjunction with Speedway Charities.
Congratulations!
Yeah, it's been great.
It's a big deal.
Look, we're just trying to get this off the ground.
Yeah.
So the way this worked before, when we started doing events, like I think you'd been to one of my ping pong events.
Yes,
before.
one of my favorites.
So we did this, and we would just we would raise a bunch of money, and it would go straight to the charities, which is how this should work. It's like. I don't want to start a foundation. This is like going to be a guiding principle for our foundation. So it's called the Newgarden Family Foundation. It's going to be our first event leading into the Music City Grand Prix. We're doing it in conjunction with the track like I talked about, which is great. So we're going to host a karting event. And we still have the same goals. It's like, let's raise money for organizations that we care about that we just want to see flourish. And Wags and Walks is one of them, a great Nashville-based group. A lot of people know Wags and Walks out of Nashville. They're very popular. They somehow find dogs in needs that also happen to be the cutest dogs. So it's like a special talent they have, but they're an amazing group. They do such a great job. And then Serious Fun Children's Network is a group that we've been working with for a long time. It was Paul Newman's charity, and they just have an incredible organization. They have 30 plus camps worldwide. Basically, all these camps are fully funded. They bring kids that have, illnesses or disabilities and don't have the means to go to camp, and they send the camp totally free. Their family too. So, pretty incredible organizations. We wanted to be able to do that and have it like housed on under an actual foundation, but then also to be able to expand that into the future and say, okay, well, if we want to do something with a hospital network in Nashville, or we find another charity that we just really care about. We just wanted to be able to have it under one house. So we've got this Newgarden Family Foundation that we've started. And like I said, we're going to start our kickoff event with this karting race. And we're hoping to raise a bunch of money and want to grow the thing more and more every year. And just, like I said, receive funds and get them in the hands of the charities, and try not spend a bunch of money doing the events, Obviously you have to spend some money to bring some money in, but I want us to be crazy transparent and try and maximize what we can, put together for these charities.
That's amazing. Congrats on the Newgarden Family Foundation. That's exciting. Fox 17 will follow your every move. We love supporting our drivers, athletes, our teams. So really looking forward to that.
Appreciate it.
Before we let you go, final segment, in my opinion, free range, Joseph. Whatever's been on your mind does not have to do anything with IndyCar or sports. Just whatever's been on your mind lately, something that you've been thinking about.
In my opinion, have you heard of HYROX racing?
You're talking about like the sport HYROX.
HYROX, yeah.
Holy crap. You're talking about wall balls. You're talking about broad jumps.
The full
It is
deal.
the hardest thing. I just had my first class.
Really?
Yes. And I was like,
That's awesome.
I was on the floor afterwards and I was like, what the heck did I just do?
It's so good. I'm super into it. I've always had to have a competitive outlet. So when I'm in the off season and I don't have a chance to race, I'm like, I got to be racing at something. And HYROX, it's basically racing. It's fitness racing. That's what it is. So I discovered this about 8 months ago. I'm totally in, like fully invested.
You're like part of the cult now. You're like, this HYROX or die.
Yeah,
like, this
no,
is
it's
it.
awesome. But they have an incredible format. It's, you know, they've created a formula that's much like the marathon. It's like, it doesn't change. You can do it anywhere. And like the barrier to entry is pretty low. Like almost anybody can do this.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very hard exercise and I'm super into it. So yeah. If you don't know anything about HYROX racing, go check it out because it's blowing up and it's going to continue to blow up.
I would call it a very, very humbling experience. And I'm a former college athlete. And so I got humbled very quick.
It can be humbling.
It can be very humbling. I think to your point, though, one of the most interesting and attractive parts is you don't need equipment. You don't need a ton. You don't need a barbell. You don't need some sort of serious weights. Most of the time, wall ball, your legs, and body weight, right? Like, is that the best way you describe a generic workout?
Pretty much, you know, it is an interesting thing to try and describe. It's kind of like CrossFit, and then a running race combined.
More cardio, right? More cardio,
much more cardio, but it's simpler. You don't have to be like an Olympic weightlifter to do HYROX,
right?
And so to your point, it's very simple to get involved into it. There's a lot of places that can teach it and you don't have to be that skilled. You need to learn some of the moves and some of the stations that you're going to have to do, but almost anybody can do it. It's a very low barrier to entry, super fun. And it'll keep you entertained. It'll keep you humbled. It'll keep you motivated. Honestly, that's my favorite part about it. I meet anyone that's done a HYROX race and they're like, man, I really enjoyed that. And it doesn't change. Like you can set like a marker and then you can see, all right, how am I going to improve at it? And it keeps you in a good headspace about it. Everyone's very supportive too. So I think they've got a good community thing going on as well.
Okay. Well, and now they have Josef Newgarden, number 2 Team Penske, an IndyCar driver. That's pretty good for them. They got a lot going on there.
Okay. Like I'm very intense when I compete. So there's only one thing that's going to satisfy me.
Yeah. That's awesome. That was a really good, in my opinion. We haven't had anything like that before.
There you go. A little HYROX knowledge.
Josef, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate talking to you about, obviously, the season, your career, the upcoming race, Borchetta Bourbon Music City Grand Prix, Labor Day weekend, Sunday. And you can watch it right here on Fox 17. Excited about that. And also, thanks for everything you do in the community. I think there's no question that you are a Nashville game changer, and you always will be. And this community is better because of you.
Oh, well, I appreciate you. You're very kind. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks so much for listening to the Nashville Game Changers podcast. Be sure to check us out on YouTube and social media. And when you're there, please like and subscribe.